Hello and welcome back. My name is Annette and I am your host here at, and you can quote me on this. Tonight, we have several guests. We have Josh and Chloe, we have Deasia, we have Jasna, and we have Liv. And they're each going to introduce themselves. They're going to take a minute to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what they do. So let's hit it, Josh.
Ladies first. What's up, Chloe?
Hello. My name is Chloe. Nice to meet everyone. Such a pleasure to finally be on this panel. Super excited to share our thoughts today and looking forward to meeting you guys and picking your brains tonight.
All right, let's pick Jasna.
Hi everyone, I'm Jasna. Again, this is round two, so you should already know who I am. Okay, I'm Jasna Ingram. I'm the married one, probably the only married one on this panel. However,
She's throwing shade. I just want to get this out there. Are you
that's a
throwing
little
shade?
shady, but it's okay.
I think that was a little shade.
It wasn't. I was just saying, like you only have me, the married one. Like I'm the only married one. So I'm cap. I have a lot of people.
That's all right. I have another married guest we can have on next month. Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Deasia?
My name's Deasia. I'm 5'5". I have brown eyes. I'm a Cancer. And I'm a social worker.
Okay. All right, Liv.
I'm Liv. I'm single. I am the founder of Friendsgiving.
Yes.
I just started my nonprofit organization, and that's me.
Okay. Josh?
All right, I'm Josh. I'm a content creator and entrepreneur who helps entrepreneurs and solopreneurs leverage their time and make passive income so they can spend more time with the people that they love.
I like that. But I want to get
That's
back.
right, Josh. I'm not going to hire you.
Right.
Okay, because content creating is a lot of work.
It is.
It really is. It's
You're
a lot of
you're
work.
the one man or one woman band, either way. So
Josh is very creative. You should see his office. Okay.
Well, I have to say, before we go on, that Josh is the reason I podcast. He brought me to this. He brought me to the mic. He did. Thank you, Josh.
absolutely. And you gave wonderful dating advice, ironically, on my dating podcast, Poetic Charm. And that was a great time. Every time I get everyone together, like, yo, where's Miss Annette at? We need her back on. And we do.
And I'm coming back. I'm there. Whenever you want me, I'm there. So let's talk a little bit about, what it's like out here. I think, Josh, I know you like ladies to move in first, but I want you to take this question. You were single for quite some time. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. I was consciously single for a decade. And I knew, because I was raised this way, to not waste any young lady's time who's over the age of 25. So because of that, I was consciously single and only dated women who were no older than 24. So let's say 19 to 24.
And how'd that work?
That was very interesting. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about women, but more importantly, I learned exactly what my standards were, what I wanted and what I didn't want. So I was, instead of having a scattergun approach in the dating marketplace, if you will, it was more of a conscious consumer, kind of how I am in real life, which is cool. As I'm sure most guys are. Because when we go to the store, we're not going to meander, we're not going to peruse, we're not going to browse. I know my brother D is in the background over there somewhere who could probably hear me. He's like,
He's not right now. He's not.
Okay, but he's definitely gonna hear. He's gonna be like, yeah, we don't do that. We like to go exactly for what we want, and then we leave. It's that simple. So that's what happened when met Chloe.
That's right. Chloe, you may or may not have heard that I have said you are the best that's ever done it.
Oh yeah, I sent her. I sent her the clip from the previous episode.
Yes,
The thing.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So you were consciously single, and consciously single because of your background and what you thought and where you wanted to be in that, right?
Absolutely, because I was very certain, because I had been in previous relationships in, in my youth and my college days. I was like, okay, I understand what, somewhat at that time, what it meant to be in a relationship. And I also understood what it meant to be single. At the same time, being the observant person that I am, I was also noticing that any type of like situationships, or let's say the hanging and banging, if you will, would peter out after a certain amount of time if there was no substance or foundation, one of the points that Jazz was talking about in the previous episode. So once I saw that, I was just like, you know what, I'm really focusing on where I'm trying to be in life. I'm not really prepared to devote my time to someone else when I'm already on my path for self-improvement. And especially as a guy, as a man, or as a young man at the time, growing into manhood, you really need to focus on yourself and create that world that you can invite other people in.
Mm,
Okay. So I want to go ahead, Jasna.
I was saying that was a good point that he made. So, in order to invite someone else into your space, you need to understand who you are and understand what you want at the present time.
Okay. And so Josh spoke a little bit, and I'm going to bounce back and forth here. Deasia, you're single. Tell us how and why.
Well, I'll go with the how first. I haven't dated in 5 years, and I am currently dating, but I haven't dated in 5 years. So like dating now for me is completely different than it was when I was 25. I'm 30 years old now. I know what I want. I know how I want it, and I don't feel like I should have to settle. So dating now, it between 30 and 25 is completely different. Like I completely know what I want. I completely know what I want to do, what type of family I want to have. Like um, yeah, I'm sure of myself. I know who I am now. I know way more than I did 5 years ago within myself and within who I want my partner to be and how I want them to be. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it.
What was the hardest thing for you about dating prior to? You said you've been out of the dating realm for 5 years,
Yes.
and why did you sit down for 5 years?
Honestly, because of my previous relationship, it kind of gave me a little PTSD with
The PG version.
Yeah, yeah,
PG.
yeah. I'm sick of it. No, but yeah, it kind of gave me a little PTSD. I was just like, yeah, I totally wasted my time. Like, I don't want anybody else to waste my time. Then I had a kid in the midst of all this. Like, so I just like, let me just sit down and get to know who Deasia is and what Deasia wants.
Okay, Chloe. What about you, Chloe?
What's the question specifically so I can answer it correctly?
Prior to Josh, were you single?
Oh yes, I was single. And I would say I was more focused on growth, right? My growth mindset. So I'm more or less the type of person who I guess I would say before I wasn't as intentional in my relationships, but I was more intentional in my career path or intentional in like my self-development as a person. I knew I wasn't really ready to like settle down because I had other things that I wanted to accomplish before I, you know, became a part of a long-lasting relationship. And I think when you lack intentionality, that's when there's room for error, right? And that's okay. Like we grow from our mistakes. Um we grow when we learn and we reevaluate things, that have happened in the past or people who we who we used to deal with, and that includes friends, right? And your circle, and it's a growing process. So I would say before Josh, I was not very intentional in my dating life, and that was something that I had to sit down and reevaluate and say, like, what is it that I really want out of a relationship, and what is it that my goals are? And I actually sat down and took time to dive into that part of my life, because I was so distracted. Like I was having fun. My girlfriends, all of us were single. We were traveling, and I was more concerned with getting my master's degree and just getting myself grounded and finding out what I want to do in my career and what type of wife do I want to be, what type of family do I want to have. And it was interesting because after I put in the work and I saw, okay, this is the type of lifestyle that I want for my legacy. This is the type of lifestyle that I want to live as a wife. When Josh came along and we started, I guess, our courting process, he said a lot of the things that I had written down already, which was interesting. And it was one of the first conversations we actually had very early in our relationship or courtship or whatever you want to call it. And I was like, okay, this guy, his values are aligned. And then it just went from there. So I think that me being intentional led me to this point and led us to be able to grow together and lean on each other for support.
Okay. They're still in that, that feel good, lovey dovey stage.
Honeymoon.
Honeymoon phase.
They're in the
How long
honeymoon
have you guys
stage.
been together?
They're in the honeymoon stage. Liv, what about you? Being single. Is it intentional or is it not your choice? Is it something you
It's
rather?
not my choice. At this point, I just haven't found the right mate. So I don't know if it's
It's not intentional.
it's not intentional.
It's not intentional. You'd rather not be single then.
I'd rather not be single. I'm ready to settle down.
So what are you
But I'm
looking
not
for?
willing to settle down with just anyone.
Okay.
I would like us both to, be like-minded about how we feel, and sometimes people just aren't as honest as you want them to be. They may say they want to be in a relationship and they don't want to be in a relationship, or so you just have to find somebody on the same page you are. And I just haven't found that person yet.
So I'd like you all to jump in where it applies. What is the difficulty in dating today?
Can I start?
Please.
I think it's expectations, right? And I think that it's confusing because there are so many different expectations based on what you learned growing up, right? Or what you learned about dating.
Right.
And I think that sometimes our expectations are inflated. I know with me, I had to kind of self-evaluate and figure out like, okay, what is it that, I bring to the table? Where's my value? And I
Okay.
feel like that's a question that a lot of women specifically, we don't even ask ourselves because we're used to, people come in like, oh, hey girl, like, guys are just, constantly trying to get with women. So we never really have to sit down and say, hey, what is it that I bring to the table? Where's my value? And I feel like when I sat down and I actually evaluated that, besides, oh, my beauty is my value, besides that, right? Besides, what is it that I have that men actually want? And
Well, that's an easy answer. However, let's
um,
go a
one,
little bit deeper with that.
one thing,
So,
oh,
when
I'm
you
sorry.
talk about what is it they want, what do you think men are looking for?
So,
Josh aside, because we're already clear about where he is, but Josh aside, what are your feelings about? And this is for all of you, what men are looking for. What do you think they want? They want your looks, they want your body. We're clear. What else?
A supportive mate. What else?
May I? So I didn't want to really comment on this particularly because I'm not dating. However, I honestly despise the question of what men want, right? because I feel like women already, we go into this concept of what can I do for this man, right? And not really focusing on what you already do for yourself. What do you do for yourself, and how can you contribute to this relationship? So I feel, when people say, what do men want? I really don't want to say who cares what men want when you're single, but I do want to say who cares what he wants, focus on what you want, and then make that collide into that relationship. So when you're out there and when you're dating and when you're doing, this, that, and the third, don't come with 100 questions. What do you want out of life? What are your goals? What are your long-term goals? Yes, those are important. However, just fill it out and just be natural and make it flow.
I agree with Jasmine, because you are who you are.
Yeah, you just are who you are.
And as you spend time with each other, and
you click or you won't.
Situations occur, and how you react to those situations, that's how you'll be able to tell if that's your mate or not.
Mm-hmm.
But just by having that conversation, I could be whoever you want me to be.
Yeah. I feel like in the first round that we went on, we got into, what we want as women in a relationship. And I feel as though, when you're in a relationship, or even when you're not, even when you're dating, it's important to know what you want first. And then when you're dating, make that kind of collide or not. Because you don't have to be compatible with who you're dating. That's dating.
So dating is about dating. And I think that the mistake that most people make in dating is they go into it with, I'm going to find a husband. Or they go into it with, we're going to be together forever. They don't go into it to enjoy the experience and or see where it goes, gets to know the person. So I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding about dating. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about standards. Your standards are what they are. I believe that if you meet somebody and they say your standards are too high, you might want to suggest that they can always go out there and get less. And so, knowing who you are and what you want is important. But there are challenges to dating. There's challenges to being married. Jasna, can you give us a secret?
A challenge secret, or just a secret to
A secret about marriage.
keeping it together? I feel like my secret comes from what society has known or has evolutionized into what marriage is. Marriage is not the one day where you get to boost and boast in front of your family and friends, and you have this extravagant day for marriage. Marriage is a continuous lifetime of events, right? So with marriage, you have to continuously grow with your partner, and you have to continuously communicate what that is. Because your communication with your marriage may be very different from what my communication is with my marriage. And I feel like society has grown to tell you what your marriage should look like and what it should be. And that is totally wrong. I feel like everyone has a different DNA, just like everyone has a different marriage. So whatever works for you, it is for you. It's not what, let's say, Liv or Deasia is married, and they're telling me advice, but that may have nothing to do with my marriage.
Because my rules may be completely different than your rules.
Exactly. And I feel like society has come to, these are the set of rules in marriage. And that's not accurate at all.
Just about life, period.
Life, period. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's my secret. I don't feel like it's really a secret. I feel like it's not talked about. what your marriage should be. Your marriage is your own DNA. So what that DNA of that marriage should be for you, then that is for you. It's not about what your family or your friend or your foe or even society has told you that it should be. It should be what you created in your marriage. And that's what that woman in that left hand corner has taught me about marriage.
And so this is for all of you. And Josh, I'm going to ask you to jump in here. How important is it for you to be pleasing to your partner?
I mean, it's very important because, you know, I believe in the spirit of reciprocity and, you know, reciprocation, because I feel like that's key for any relationship, whether that's with your parents, your siblings, your family members, and especially your spouse who you're going to be with every single day, and then eventually your children, type of thing. So I think that's definitely necessary to have like a baseline of understanding of where any type of communication comes from, because we all been there. We all been, you know, upset, and then, you know, we can lash out, but that's not exactly how you feel. You're not demonstrating how you feel. Let's say in general, you're just expressing how you feel in the moment. So being able to be aware of that and understand that, I also think is important as well.
So we have a guest on that says she believes that most relationships aren't natural anymore because people are so caught up in, you know, what society thinks and or feels about relationships. Chloe, how
We agree with
important
that.
is it for you to be pleasing to Josh?
I think it's very important. I mean, if this is somebody that you're going to be spending the majority of your time with, you wanna make sure that they're in a nice, comfortable space. Like, you wanna make sure that they wanna actually be around you, like, and no one wants to be around a person who's not pleasing, or is just selfish. You know, we're both only children. So it's like we are conscious of that, and we make extra efforts so that we are more accommodating than, you know, we typically probably would be if we were alone. Like, I didn't have to ever share anything, but it's just like that growing curve, and it's about respect, right? It's about actually caring for the person and respecting them. That's the type of person that you want to give peace to. It's not like you're going out your way to do it. It just kinda comes naturally.
And
We
so
should be each other's piece, right?
Mhm.
That's how I feel. You should be each other's piece.
Yeah.
And I'm
I'm
not
not
gonna
here to
get
make your
Absolutely.
life hard, just like you shouldn't be here to make my life hard. We here to make each other's life easier.
Mhm.
because I'm not gonna give 80 and you getting 30. It's just
Right.
it's not gonna work.
and so it does require a partnership, but being
It
pleasing
does.
to your
It's
mate.
all about being honest. You have to be honest with each
From
other.
the jump.
Just be honest about whatever you want, whatever you don't like. You get what I'm saying? You have to be honest. Don't hold that in.
So honesty is a big deal. I want to back up a bit because in the best relationships, I need you to understand, as the elder here, that most people bring their representatives to the first date.
Mhm.
So you don't really know who people are. So we're going to jump a little bit and we're going to dive. And this is going to be deep waters. If you can't swim, you know, back up and drink some water. The problem in most relationships is that the heads are in the beds before the thought of who they are even occurs.
I agree.
Okay, come on with it.
I agree. So, honestly, it's really just depending on where I'm at in my life at the time, and what I'm doing. Do I want to date you because I want you to be a potential husband or mate, or am I just dating? Just I'm focusing on my career. I'm focusing on my goals at the time. Is I might not have time for. I might not really feel like I had the time to focus on a serious relationship. So I've been trying a number of things. I've tried waiting maybe a couple months, until I know a person a little bit more before I decided to have intercourse with them. Or there's been a time where, I just not jumped head in, but did it a little sooner than a little sooner than
But
I
I don't
probably
think
would
that's
have.
wrong.
I don't think it's wrong either. Whatever you feel like is right for you, then you feel is right for you. But you may not necessarily know that person, and then I feel like sometimes sex blur the lines. Like it may get complicated. You know, those emotions change.
So sex in a relationship happens. Let's be
Yes.
clear about that. Sex is not a dirty word. It's actually a very great word. So it happens.
Sure is.
Sex happens. The question is, and I want you to think about this before you answer it. The question is, why do men and women alike jump into bed first and then try to get to know the person? Why is that the cart before the horse?
I want to know if you're sexually pleasing to me.
Honestly, I'm not going to buy a car without test driving. Okay, so I don't want to.
That's
I
marriage.
don't want to wait. Right, if it's not something
Okay.
right, I want to know what's going on.
I want people to understand that being in a relationship, yes, it is more than sex and financial, right? But those are the nucleus. Because those are, if we're being transparent, those are the factors that create drama in your relationship. If you're not having sex with your mate, if finances are a trouble for you, those are the two factors that really create a significant divide in your relationship. And people want to say all the time, well, sex, and finances shouldn't, if you have love, listen, the reality is the reality. If you're not having sex with your mate, if you're not pleasing your mate, because you could be having sex with your mate, but you're not pleasing them.
I was in a relationship, and I was dating this guy. We were in a relationship, and he told me I was a horrible girlfriend. And he told me I was a horrible girlfriend because I was not having sex with him. And I wasn't having sex with him because I wasn't pleased. When I met him and we were dating, he told me he was this sexologist, and he had me thinking that I was, in for the time of my life. So now my expectations are here. You get what I'm saying? And then I had the test run, and it wasn't what he said it was.
It didn't work out.
It didn't work out. You get what I'm saying? So after that, it turned me off. And no, I don't want to have sex with you because I don't like it. So
I also want the audience to understand that women are more emotional sexually than physical. So although a lot of men, and Josh, maybe you can speak on it with the only men on here right now. I'm sorry. But you need to understand, if we're not here with you, then the sex is going to be very bad.
And learn her body. Learn her
body and understand her body. And I think that a lot of men bypass that. You think that a woman having an orgasm is oh, I did my job, and it's not.
But you may not even have an orgasm because you're not stimulating what you need to stimulate.
Stimulate the mind first.
Stimulate her mind, Craig.
And so getting to know a person is just as important when it comes to the sexual encounter as anything else, because sex is not just physical, it's a mind game.
Yes.
And
for women, though.
For men too. Come on, Josh.
Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting listening to the ladies talk about that, because from the other vantage point, typically, and we have closed goddaughter here, so I'm going to refer to it as coital relations because they have no idea what that word means. So coital relations, right? From a guy's perspective, typically we don't see, let's say the lady's let's say crazy side until after that happens. In addition, guys just want that anyway. That's just like our default setting. Like you can't really turn it off. So is it like it's as consistent as the sun, as it can be?
Okay. And so that's a man's perspective. And adding to that, if the mind is not there, there it's just not going to be what it needs to be. And so we get into the heads in beds before we get to know the person, and then by the time we wake up the next morning, we find out we don't like that person. We don't like that that person snores. We don't like that their feet smells. We don't like that their breath stinks. We don't like that the hygiene. Am I right, Chloe? We don't like that the hygiene is not where it's supposed to be. So when we talk about sex heads and beds, we're putting the cart before the horse. And test driving, Deasia, is fine as long as you know what you're test driving. You know, because I tell, the women I mentor often there's enough disease to go around to last a lifetime. So you
No, I
have
didn't
to
say
be
anything
mindful.
about having unprotected sex.
Y'all have to protect yourselves. Okay.
Yes, that's important. But
That's
sometimes we
still
get into
existing. I need people to understand that still exists. You still need to protect yourselves when
right.
you're having sex and when you're dating and when you're doing certain things. I feel like it's just non-existent now.
And it doesn't matter that you had sex 6 times and
It doesn't
That
matter.
don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
In each instance, you have to protect yourself to prevent unwanted diseases and pregnancies. Okay, so let's jump off the wild end a little bit here. What's the wildest thing you've ever done? As long as it won't get you locked up today, let's talk about it.
What
Deasia.
do you mean? Can you
Deasia turned
clarify
away.
driving for me?
Deasia, I need you to come back to the camera. Deasia kind of turned away. What?
I would just go ahead and slide out.
What do you mean, sexually or just random?
In relationships?
Random. What's the wildest thing you've ever done? As single people, what's the wildest thing you've ever done? And I'm going to get to the married too, Jasna, quickly.
Don't come over here. I'm married.
Went on 2 dates on one night. I went on a date at 4. Went home and freshened up and went on another date.
Okay. All right. Jasna, when you were single. Never mind. Your husband
Deasia, no answer.
I haven't dated in so long. Are you mean like in a relationship? When I was in a relationship, I've done little crazy things in relationships.
Like
What's
what?
one thing?
Like getting cars towed, like going on a high speed chase. Like,
All right, that's enough.
Chloe, what's one of the wildest things you ever did?
Allegedly, Rio.
my
Allegedly.
younger years.
Allegedly.
I
How
think
about you, Chloe?
probably as a single person, paying $80,000 to go to college. That was the wildest thing I ever
Hello.
did. Honestly.
You talk about it, Chloe.
Honestly.
Okay?
The
The
wildest
wildest thing I've ever done.
In a relationship.
thing. Unintentionally. Like, I think that's pretty wild. Just going out there and just being with somebody because of how they look. That's wild to me.
Okay.
Like, that was wild. Like, why would why? I wasted time. Like, I could have been doing other stuff.
I need a break.
Okay. All right. And so just as a point of interest, being married, Jasna, is a whole lot different than dating. What would you offer for somebody who wants to get married quickly? What would you offer?
So the operative word for me in that sentence is quickly. What's the swiftness about? Why do you want to get married so quickly? I feel like marriage, like I said in the first round, marriage should come natural. I feel like women have come to this place where we have to sweat men to marry us. If a man wants to marry you, he will.
And do not get on one knee.
And women have come to this place where they're asking men to marry them, and I do not agree with that. To each her own. However, I just feel like it should come natural for both parties.
Okay,
And
so that's your answer. That's your answer. It should come natural. That's what you would offer women, that the marriage should come naturally.
It should.
And don't be so in a rush.
And not quickly.
Discernment. Can you talk about discernment?
Discernment. My friend wants to talk about discernment.
We can talk about it. We just have to be better judges. Like, you get what I'm saying? Be able to distinguish if somebody wants to be with you or they don't want to be with you. Stop ignoring red flags.
Stop forcing it.
Stop forcing it.
So red flags are
relationship. Like you can absolutely be by yourself. Some women are having a hard time being by themselves. Like, be by yourself. You rather go through all this riffraff with this one guy instead of just being by yourself and happy and at peace. Just be by yourself.
Naya said, child. Real casual.
Like, okay to be by yourself.
It is okay.
It is absolutely okay. There's no rush. And
Well,
as a 30-year-old woman, like I always say, I love love. I love black love. I love marriage. Like, I'm not in a rush to get married. If it happens, it does. I always say I never wanted to get married before the age of 30. Like, what is the rush? Like, come on.
Make it come natural.
So that's your point, Jasna, for it to be natural. And
I agree with Jasmine.
Don't rush it. Let it be natural. Josh, what do you say about marriage? What would you say?
And marriage isn't for everybody.
That too, I would definitely say that.
Ooh,
just like how they say college is for everyone. Don't rack up 80 in debt, right? Just for a thing that isn't for you, that doesn't make sense. This person is very studious, so it's definitely for her, right? But I'm talking about in general, as Rio said, like, hey, if it's not for you, then you need to know that quickly. Additionally, if you feel that way in the moment and later you change your mind, that also changes your options that you can attract.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something to consider as well. But for me, again, I'm a guy, I'm direct. So for me, I would find out what, like, identify your type to the hairstyle, to the height, to the weight, to the style, like exactly what you want. Like this is my type right here. And then find out what they want and make sure you line up with that. And then your lifestyle will bring people like that around you. And that, for me, that it's all about, being authentic. There's a phrase in the dating sphere it's called let's say a social circle game. So for me, like close in my social circle, we went to Ryder together, but never met each other. Yet all of our favorite people know each other. So that's one of the things where you let God help you in that by just being intentional, and then things will come into your life that way. That's my perspective.
What if, so you mentioned that the physique, right? So what if you are looking for a certain physique and that your soulmate doesn't come in that physique?
It's going to be incredibly difficult for men because we cannot fake the funk when it comes to that. There's a mindset that we have when we're starving, let's say, and there's a mindset that we had when we have abundance. So in order to go into a marriage, you're going to have an abundance mindset. You can't have a scarcity mindset. So to answer your question, Jazz, if you're on the other side of the spectrum in terms of preferences, that goes back to your nucleus, because that's going to impact your nucleus. So you can't have that chemistry unless like that person is your actual fire and desire, literally, because it has to be like that. And that's what keeps it long-term, personally, in my perspective.
And that's a good point. Fire and desire. Well,
I thought that question was really funny, because if somebody told me that my soulmate was in a size 4'11" guy, I'm gonna be like, I'll never find my soulmate because I'm not even. I would never even. It just would never happen because I'm just never going to be attracted to somebody with that stature. Just would not happen. So I chuckled when I heard that question because it's like, oh, what if the person? Nah, I don't even see that person. They're just not even on my radar. So when my soul, I guess I'd just be single forever.
Okay.
So
So-
I have such an opposition of this conversation, which is why I asked the question. Only because I feel like I do tap into what a soulmate is, and that may not necessarily. Okay, let's get this out the way. Granted, I'm very attracted to my husband. He has a beard. My soulmate has to have a beard. I feel.
Hallelujah.
And he has to be my husband's stature or something, something of that build. And I did get that. However, I do think that the physique really will come to crash with what you think that you're supposed to be with. And, I've had friends who, think that their soulmate is supposed to be this person who looks like this. And then their soulmate ended up being this person who looks the complete opposite. So that's a conversation because you never know. Granted, God will grant you what you need and what He expects you to have. However, I don't think that your soulmate is supposed to be the person who you think that physique is there. I don't think that at all.
I wouldn't say physique per se, but for me, I know the Lord is not going to give me a man without a beard. It's just not gonna. He's not going to do me like that.
Really? What about if He does that?
So my
He's
thing
not
was
the one
always
for me.
tall and dark skinned, and then
I
I've had short, I've had light
I don't
skin,
have a
brown
type.
skin.
My type is beard. I don't have a type besides that.
You know what my type is? Good character.
Yeah,
Everything else,
that's the type.
Treat me and my daughter.
everything else.
That's important to me.
That's one C, boss. You forgot the other C, complexion, because we know you got that complexion. You like a certain certain shade now. Come on now.
I want good character and I want them to be dark. I want them to be chocolate.
Right. You want no chocolate,
nah.
You gotta have a little
Treat
chocolate.
me good. I don't have a skin complexion preference. He just literally has to have a beard. That's it.
See, I'm so opposite from y'all. I have like a specific type. And Josh is my specific, like he's literally to the T, my specific type.
She
I'm
has
glad it worked out for you, baby girl.
But see, for some women, it works out that way.
I'm glad it worked out for you.
Come on, Sierra Prayer.
Listen, all I'm gonna say is it's about boundaries, right? Number one, it's about being real with yourself. Like you have to be real with yourself. I feel like a lot of women are not really looking at what they bring to the table. And that goes back to that, right?
That's true.
So it's like if you don't know what your value is out here, that's like you know what I mean? You go into the car dealership and you got a 200 credit score and you trying to get like listen, you trying to get a BMW X6. They're gonna laugh you out the dealership. Like you should
let me challenge you though.
You should wait. Let me finish my point.
If Josh wasn't of the physique that he is right now, right? Would you still be on I'm going to call it a dating spree because that's honestly what you are doing right now until Josh proposes, right? Would you still be interested in Josh?
So for me, if Josh was
4'11",
if he was 4'11" when I met him, we would wouldn't know each other.
She's stuttering. She said,
I can't even fathom that. Like, I feel like people forget that there's a stage before the relationship. Like the stages
So you wouldn't even have considered him if he was 5'1".
No, he wouldn't even be on my radar because I have a specific standard. So it's like if you don't reach that standard, how would I even know if you're a good person? Because I'm not talking to you.
And they'll probably be in the friend zone.
They would be definitely, he would be in the friend zone. I'd be like, hey, Josh, I just broke up with my boyfriend. Can you help me? And he'd be trying to get with me, and I'd just be using him for, to dry my tears. And he would take me out probably, would probably, go places. I'd probably ask him to date his cousin or something. Like, you got anybody to hook me up with? Like, if you got any tall cousins?
You got any
Like,
tall
that's what-
cousins?
He would
I
be,
guess
he would
those
be
would be like
friend
your
zone.
negotiables and your non-negotiables. You get what
But
I'm
I'm
saying?
not. So I'm not going to ignore that there is, like what she said, that there is a pre-stamp stage where the looks, like, ooh, he don't look
Because
right.
you have to be
You have to be
attracted to
that.
him. You have to be.
However, I can't ignore the chemistry between you and Josh. Even if he wasn't of the stature that he is, even if he was 5'1".
Nope, he would never.
But she
We
couldn't
wouldn't
have
have this
gotten to
chemistry.
that chemistry.
He's tough. Like,
we would-
But
Yeah,
but
chemistry.
no, those are the questions that I want to know. Like, with technically you still are single,
Yes.
and my
We're
babies
unmarried.
are single as well.
Yes.
But those are the questions that I want to know from single women. Like, you're in this relationship now. Have you bypassed what this man looks like?
I would never bypass what he looks like. Like, that's the point. I think that's where the disconnect is between what I'm saying and where you don't understand. Maybe the misconception is that I'm not getting to know a man if I'm not attracted to him.
Mm.
So I only have a limited amount of time. So I'm not going to be wasting my time talking to someone I'm not attracted to. Like, the only way that would happen, like, that's like throwing a Hail Mary at the last quarter. Like, the only way that would happen is if he was in the friend zone maybe for like 20 years. He maybe stumbled upon like $50 million or something. It would have to be some like super extreme case for me to even consider his personality. Because I'd be like, oh, that's my brother. Or that's my, that's my friend.
Bro.
That's
I wouldn't.
So I think
what
she's saying she has a specific type.
I
thing is, I want to be attracted to you. I need to be attracted to you. But I can't say, oh, you have, for me, you don't have to be tall and dark skinned. I would prefer for you to be tall and dark skinned, but I can't compromise on some things. Yes,
so there are some non-negotiables.
I can't compromise.
I think that the point is, you don't want to miss the point. The point is this: that chemistry between Josh and Chloe wouldn't even be there had she not had first an interest.
Mm-hmm.
So that chemistry developed as a result of the interest. Had Josh been 4'11", he could still be fine as wine. She's not looking that way. Period.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's what she's looking for.
Period.
That's not what she's looking for.
I absolutely get it.
And I get it.
And nobody without fear. Okay.
I want to wrap this up and talk about part 3. Josh is saying he thinks Nia Brown should be in part 3. She had quite a few comments. She agrees with Chloe. Go for what you want. Veronica Macklin is saying chocolate, yes. Kind of plug that out. And so,
Please.
Mom, please.
I mean, that's the way she said it. She said, yes, the chocolate, that berry.
Sound like she was speaking to your soul, boss.
She got into my whole soul. And here's what I want you to know tonight.
It's the chocolate for me.
For the audience, here's what I want you to know. It's really not all about looks. It's not. Because at the end of the day, if the height is going to be 6 feet, they could not be as fine as wine. And if they're 6 feet, sometimes you could develop that chemistry. But if the standard is solid on 6 feet, they got to be 6 feet. I have found that every
what
time
about they shrink?
That's
like, what are you gonna do then? It's
a standard. It's a standard. You cannot compromise your standards. That's a standard for Chloe. That's what she wants. That's what she has. Mm-hmm. You have your standard. Deasia has hers. Liv has hers. I have mine. Every time I wandered away from the juice, I got sour grapes. And so, what I'm trying to tell you is it's not all about looks. Good character is the first point. It's
Yes.
not. And I know that most women say he has to have the bag. He has to have the. It's not about money because if you get together and you got your right chemistry and you guys lock in and you start working together, you build the bag together. So
And
there
that's
are a
what it's
lot of
about,
variables.
partnership. It's about partnership. It's not about what's mine and what's yours. It's about partnership. Like we should be able to elevate each other in every aspect of life.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to elevate. And part 3 is coming up. We'll have part 3 soon. We'll determine a date. We'll move forward. And then we're going to talk about what happens when you disagree. What happens when the money is short? What happens when
Child.
it's not
Did we have
all
this conversation last week?
Let
is
me say
cracked
something.
up to be? What happens when you find out that the person you love is not so perfect after all, but you still love them? So we're going to talk about that too. And we're going to talk about sex, heads, and beds. And we're going to talk about what it means to please your man. And that's where I'm going to take every one of you to school. And
I'm
so
ready.
You're not taking me to school.
I'm ready. I'll be the first one there.
I'd like to thank you all for joining us here this evening. I'd like to tell you that we'll be back again with part 3 and additional guests. I'd like to tell you that we want to bring Naya on. We want to bring John on. We want to bring Veronica on. We want to bring other men on. We
Please
want
bring someone else to marry.
Mark.
we want to
Ooh,
bring
Mark would be
on.
good.
I said we need you.
We
We need a
want to
single
bring
man. We need a
Mark
single
could be
man that
good.
can.
Mark could be good.
we want to bring on single men. We want to bring on married men. We have 9 seats for this podcast. And we'd also like to join Josh in his podcast. Josh, before we close and I wrap this up, tell me what your podcast is, when you'll be on again, and what the topic will be relative to relationships.
Okay.
Jed,
Well,
wait, hold on. Bi-Coastal Pack, my son is here. He said, I'm just here to view. That's it. He's engaged to Naya. We'd love to get them on as a couple. Go ahead, Josh. Tell us about your podcast.
yep. So our podcast is called the CXOJ podcast and is streaming on all platforms. And our last topic was last Friday, and we talked about red flags. So Kevin Samuels, I know he's a divisive topic. So he came up with 9 red flags for young men and it really hit home for me because as a young man, sometimes we're told one thing about ladies, but then we discover it's actually the opposite when you get older. And by then it's it might be too late. So it was we did it from the perspective of a possible future son, or for any other future sons out there. What red flags would you tell to your young son to court his, let's say, his future princess type of thing? Like having that legacy mindset. So this is what you're looking for women you want to commit to long term.
Okay.
And that's also on YouTube as well. We have our YouTube channel, Chloe XO Josh.
Okay. And so we want to get a little bit more into that. We want to exchange that and we want to promote that here because it's a phenomenal podcast. They're younger and they ask great questions and I love it. I love it. But here's what I want you to know before you leave. When you love somebody, when you love them and you like them too, because that's the plus, the love and the like, and you respect them, nothing can come between that. So take that with you, put it in your back
I'm
pocket,
waiting
and
for
as you see fit.
it.
They're out there. There's some good people out there. There's some horrible people out there. And money isn't everything. I've had enough
It's
of it.
not.
I've had enough of it with partners to know money is not the deal.
That's right.
Okay? So look
Great.
for the good character
Love and
first.
like.
Look for the good character first. and everything else will fall in place. I'd like to thank you for joining us here this evening. We'll be back again soon with part 3. We're going to delve a little bit deeper into the sex, heads, and beds. We're going to delve into the finances. We're going to delve into the disagreements. We're going to delve into what being single looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like, and what it works like. We're going to talk about marriage. We're going to talk about commitment, as Josh, and Chloe have. We're going to talk about being single. We're going to talk about seniors, my age, dating, and what it looks like, because we certainly know what we want. And it ain't shit. We want
Thanks for
yachts.
having us.
We want yachts and diamonds and boats and
Okay.
Europe
Hilarious.
and, all kinds of things. But thank you for joining us here this evening. Josh, I want to thank you. Shout out to
I'm
you.
gonna
and
call you
Chloe.
when the show is over, okay?
Keep going.
Need some
Liv,
advice.
I want to thank you, for coming on. We're going to move to a wider camera angle for you guys. Jasna, as a married woman, you have some things to tell us and you're holding back. We're going to get to that in our next show. And Deasia, you're going to tell us about the wildest thing you ever, because
Oh my God.
you slid off camera on that one. So we're coming back. Hey, my name is Annette. I'm your host here at, and you can quote me on this. Join us again soon. These guys have something to tell you, and you can expect a few more guests and a lot more conversation. Have a good night and thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Not
Good night.